This is Victoria Amador. She's a QHHT practitioner. She also does BQH, Past Life Regression. I've known her as a graduate of my very advanced Spirit Releasement Therapy training process through my Past Life Awakening Institute. So tell us a bit about how you came to think, oh, okay, I do connect and resonate with some of the SRT, and how you contacted me probably 6 months ago, something like that, and we started working together.
It feels like a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was going through, like I said, I had a lot of clients that I noticed they had spirit attachments. Some of them I couldn't tell them because I didn't feel that it was the appropriate thing to do at the beginning, because they didn't come to me for that. They didn't come to me for the shamanic. They didn't come to me for spirit releasement. They came mostly for QHHT or past life regression.
So can I just jump in for a second? I think it's a really good and important point. And so that's one thing I do tell people who are interested in SRT. Like if someone gives you a mandate to do QHHT and an entity comes up, some in QHHT, they might say, well, that's not really part of our modality. We'd prefer, not to do that. I'd say perfectly fine. I agree with you 100%.
Well, I felt responsible.
But I'll tell you why and how to do it. And so the same thing can be for me in a past life regression session. If somebody doesn't know anything about SRT or spirits, they don't tell me that their issue is spirits. They tell me they want to go into a past life. And if while I'm doing that, an entity comes up, I might get some of the information from it, who are you, what's going on. But then I'd say, okay, go back in your box. This is a past life regression session. It's not SRT. I'm going to give this person what they asked for, not what they didn't ask for. And I will continue on. And so in the QHHT, you could do the same. So I'm not advocating if an entity comes up, you must drop what you're doing in QHHT and start doing spirit releasement. I would say follow the rules. And so I've got a process where, like if you're doing past life regression, do that. If they want to come back and set an intention to do an SRT session later, cool. But particularly if you're doing something like QHHT as well, or anything really, like just follow the instructions as given and don't get distracted. But if the instructions are, the spirit guide says this is part of what they were called here to do, and they can consent to it and set that intention in session, that may be another thing. But I just want to make that clear as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. But in QHHT, we apply to the idea that the client that comes because the higher self have found the practitioner to have the skills that they need to address the issues that they have. So I did feel responsible.
Well, that's one of the questions I'd even ask, though. Even if it comes up, I'd say, okay, that's interesting, but is that something we need to focus on today, or is that something we can deal with later?
Right.
And so I'd give them that chance at least to not do it. So I'm not here to sell SRT to every person that comes up or to discard what I was doing and get distracted by it.
Exactly. And I think the reason why I think that those that are QHHT practitioners should look into SRT as a training modality is because a lot of the issues, what I found is that with QHHT clients, they will have the one session initially, and 2 weeks later or something like that, they will say, I felt great, I felt this, but something is still there. And that's how I started figuring out that something was really needed more than just QHHT. And the combination of doing SRT before even doing QHHT has been very powerful for a lot of my clients.
Yeah. Okay. And so just to set a framework as well, I think a key part, even a question might be, if you're doing a QHHT session or a past life regression session and entities come up, to me, that doesn't mean you have to address them in that moment. So I just want to make that clear. And so one thing, it can be like, they've got an attachment, I've got to release it, I've got to help them. No, you don't. They've had that attachment, they could have had it for decades. Just because it comes up now doesn't mean you have to do it now. You should do what you set out to do, which is a QHHT session. And for me, I would just say get the message from it. Now, the message might be you do have to deal with it right now. And if that's the message, fine. But really find out what the real message is, because the message could be this: we want you to understand that entities exist. We want you to we want you to deal with them maybe next week, if you've got the ability to do that through your past training. It could be that you do QHHT sessions, you notice entities come up. I tell them to, hold their horses and wait. But it happened a few times. So since it's happened a few times, I think I'm going to have to find out what this is. And maybe I'll start doing some training and get some get some advanced training from someone like me. And then this happens a number of times where people will say, look, exactly that. I've had entities come up, 4 or 5 times. I've done 100 sessions of QHHT this year. 4 or 5 times entities come up. I've told all of them to just, I didn't know how to deal with it, or I just told them to wait or just sort of let it be. And a lot of times entities are not a big deal or a big problem. They're not really negatively affecting their life. Therefore, you don't have to deal with them urgently. But all of it is just like a little whisper that the universe is giving that, sooner or later, you can start learning SRT. And then you can just gather up all those clients that you've known over the last couple of years and say, notice how that thing came up, and if is that something you're interested in, and then you can do sessions with them, years down the line. So that's one thing, that you don't have to feel a great urgency, but there definitely will be times for other people where it comes up and you need to work with it sooner rather than later. If you're interested in having personal sessions or certification training in hypnosis or hypnotherapy, or regression to this life, past lives, between lives, or spirit releasement therapy, then visit my website, the Past Life Awakening Institute.com, for details.